Hey guys, Brand Without a Hairdryer again, and today I want to do something a little bit different for the YouTube commentary thing today. I talk a lot about all the bad things that happens in Dead by Daylight, because unfortunately there is just kind of a lot of bad things that happen in Dead by Daylight. But on my Twitch channel, while I'm still talking about all the things I talk about here, I am also a little bit more like, I talk more about like the things they do well too, and kind of like am less intense about the bad things that they do. And that I realize that kind of doesn't come over on this side, you know, like on the YouTube side of things. You never get to hear the it's not that bad kind of part of my perspective on Dead by Daylight. So I'm gonna put out at least one video talking about good things about, you know, behavior and what Dead by Daylight has done. So we're gonna cover 5 things that behavior has done well recently. Number 1, Mori's are no longer OP. Thank God for this one. You know that bad feeling you get when survivors key out just because you killed somebody and they did most of the gens but not all the gens? Yeah, Mori's used to be like that, and it was like very, very miserable on the survivor side to face a Mori. Imagine you just like going about your day, kill or hook someone, you know, that just kind of naturally happens in a game. You know, it's just what happens. You could be all godlike survivor, somebody's gonna get hooked eventually, and you go and get that person off hook, killer comes right back to hook Anderson, and then they just kill them, they just Mori them. And now that person's just out of the game. Because why? Because they eventually went down like everybody does. Okay, it was one of the most unfair things in the game, and I think people forget about this because keys, which is the kind of the survivor, you know, flip side of this, are still in the game. So it doesn't feel like Mori's being gone is like a super great and crazy awesome thing because the keys are still in the game. But let's not call attention. Let's please call attention. Actually, let's please call attention to the fact that Mori's also used to be incredibly broken and sped up the game in a really unfair way. And now you can't kill somebody until they're on death hook, which is completely fair and super awesome, and I'm super happy they made that change. You know, in a perfect world, we would have got the key change and the Mori change at the same time, but we'll take those. We'll take those. Number 2, Undying is no longer OP. You remember when Undying came out and how broken it actually was? Undying is in its current state, everybody still thinks is super annoying. Do you remember what this perk used to do? It used to give you aura reading on every single totem, not just the ones that were dull. Every single totem would give you aura reading. And it gets worse. It gets worse too. You know how it saves your hex totem once? Undying used to save your hex totem for every dull totem that was still left inside the trial. So it could go through all 5 totems. Your hex could go through, well, you know, Undying takes a totem, so technically 4, but you know, like it could go through every remaining totem in the trial before it got cleansed. You know how terrifying this is? Imagine if Ruin's up. You remember that? If you weren't around for that, that was an awful, awful, awful time. Awful time to play Survivor. If Ruin was on the map and they had Undying, you literally had to stop the game and just go totem hunt. Like if you weren't in a coordinated 4-man or something, you literally just had to take that. Like you literally just had to like either plow out the gens or just it's time to search for totems, kids. And you had to do all 5 because unless you snipe Undying at some point in there, it's just gonna spawn on every single dull totem until it was just ridiculous. It was just way too much. Way too much. Thankfully that got removed, it got adjusted, so now it just saves it once and it only gives you aura reading for dull totems, because man, was that super obnoxious. That was too much. Number 3, offensive DS is dead. Well, it's mostly dead. So this is probably the thing that made me want to quit Dead by Daylight the most. And if this didn't get changed, realistically, I'm not even joking with you, I probably would have quit Dead by Daylight. It was the most unbalanced and unfair thing that I've ever played in a game, really, besides games that are intentionally not trying to be balanced, right? Like, offensive DS, like, was the most annoying thing in the plane. Essentially, whenever you got off hook, you just had that 60-second timer no matter what. It didn't matter if you were healing somebody. It didn't matter if you were unhooking somebody. It didn't matter if you were on the last gen raider and ready to leave. It did not matter. If you came off hook and I ran into you at some point, even if I was attempting to stop you from doing an objective, you could just DS me. Like I understand stopping tunneling. Tunneling is like not fun for anybody, and having as many mechanisms in the game to stop that as possible is a good thing. But the thing is, DS was being applied when people were not in a situation where they're being tunneled. If you're on a gen, you're not being tunneled. If you're healing a teammate, you're not being tunneled. If you're unhooking somebody, you're not being tunneled. You are now advancing the video game in the side of your teammates. You are now advancing the game on your side. You were advancing objectives, you were advancing the altruism, you were advancing the game. You were no longer being tunneled, but then you would just get DS'd literally all the time, and it literally ruined my fun. It literally ruined my fun almost every time I streamed, and it made me want to quit the game. I almost quit the game. And I don't care, like, everybody can whine and complain, oh, well, now DS is useless. Like, people still force DS. People do. But, like, at least they have to, like, not advance the game to do it. It's still annoying when a survivor goes out of the way to force DS, because it's still, you know, it's still annoying because, like, you know, it still buys the survivors a lot of time, right? It still buys the survivors a lot of time. And somebody will go out of their way, even if they're not healing somebody, unhooking somebody, or doing a gen, they will go out of their way to go find you and force their DS, and then we'll force their DS, and it'll buy them a lot of time, just in the sense that we have to do another chase now just to down you. And it's still annoying, but, like, man, it was a plague back in the day. It was awful, and people could advance objectives while doing it, and it was miserable. And I hear survivor mains to this day still complain about, like, DS is useless now, and I don't think they realize just the extent of how broken and unfun and painful old DS was. So I think the change they made was exactly what it needed, and if you're one of those people that complain about it, you might be a little entitled. I don't like saying that. I don't like saying that too much, but if you're one of those people that complains that DS is overpowered or underpowered now and it's useless, you were probably an entitled survivor main that ran it all the time, and you're the reason it got nerfed because you were probably the one abusing it. And that's just the rough truth. Number 4, Franklin's no longer destroys items. This is something that I'd been bringing up some of you recently before this change got made. Why is there a killer perk that just, like, removes the spent blood points that you have used in the game? Like, you don't really think of it that way, because, you know, you bring in Franklin's and it knocks the item out of your hand, and after it had been on the ground long enough, it would just, you know, disappear, right? It would just, like, go. You don't think of that as, like, a translation to your blood web, right? Like, that's not usually how you take that. But realistically, you spent blood points on that item, right? You spent blood points on that item that you earned from another match. So essentially, if a killer was equipping Franklin's, what they were doing was reaching into your blood web from, you know, whatever match you just had, or whatever match that you bought that item from, and saying, no, I'm taking your 3,000 blood points. I'm taking your 9,000 blood points. Like, hello? like that is stupid. That is dumb. I understand Franklin's because, like, if there's a key, or even if there's like 4 really strong med kits, that just, like, kind of, like, or 4 really strong toolboxes, it just kind of helps win the match for basically nothing, you know, like, because congratulations, you brought an item in, I guess. You know, I think I can see how that's annoying, but the fact that it, like, permanently removed your item, especially from the side that already earns less blood points, was just stupid, because it made that grind even more terrible than it had to be. And it was just awful. So I'm glad that that's no longer what it does, even if it was just because they couldn't figure out how to do the Nemesis vaccine thing. But, you know, we take those. Like I said in the first one, we take those. Number 5, killer and survivor overhauls. The visual overhauls that they've been doing to the killers and the survivors have looked pretty good. They've been pretty neat. I've really liked those. Like, you know, Kate looks kind of derpy, and some of them have not turned out great. But otherwise, like, that's, like, only, like 2 or 3 of them. That's only, like, a few, dude. Like, most of the survivor overhauls and remakes look really, really, really good. Really, really, really good. And I think it's really cool because, like, the maps have been hit or miss, right? Like, I miss old McMillan. I miss old Auto Haven. Like, New Ormond looks cool, right? New Ormond looks cool. But, like, for the most part, I don't like the Asylum. Like, most of the remakes I haven't been a huge fan of in terms of the maps, but the survivor and killer overalls, those look crisp. Those look good, and I can't wait till they're, like, actually in the game. Like, those look really neat, and they look really cool, and I can't wait to, like, you know, play as them. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this short positive video, positive TM video, where we talk about some of the good things that's happened recently in Dead by Daylight, because, you know, there's a lot of bad, but there's some good in there, friend. There's some good, or else we wouldn't keep playing the game, right? So those are some of the things that, like, I'm appreciative for that changed for the better, and hopefully these are things that you agree with. I'm interested to see what you think in the comments below. If you really liked the video, there's a way to like that, or sub and stick around for a while. Who knows? Maybe you like it here. I don't know. But yeah, if I don't see you in the next YouTube video or in the Twitch zone, I will see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.